The webinar is now live. This is going to be an exciting one. We started it a little bit early. People are logging on now. We're going to give them a minute. You're going to learn how to triple your Instagram following. And that's based on Jimmy Mackin, the CEO of Curaytor, former non-creator, Instagrammer. Like we were talking about that before the call. Like you're not the most, social media doesn't come real naturally to you. You almost have had to force yourself to get into that space, and it's doing wonders. So in the last 90 days, Jimmy has grown his following 300%. He tripled his following. And the way he did it is very easy for you to execute and do for yourself. Like it requires sort of, growing your following, getting more likes, posting great reels, posting great stories, selectively throwing some ad spend in there, using carousels, like understanding the analytics a little bit. Like that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover all of that and then some. But before we start, Jimmy, what does it feel like to see an account growing like that? Why Instagram? Why now? I'd love to hear.
Well, I have a little ways to catch up to you, my friend, because you think you're still in that 15,000 range. So you're in my sights. But the thing that's probably been the most gratifying of this journey is, and what I hope we can accomplish in today's webinar is we can inspire everybody to realize that it's never too late to start. I sort of neglected my Instagram channel for the better part of 5, 6, 7 years. I'd post occasionally, a picture of what I was eating, of the family, of where I'm traveling. And it was a nice way for me to sort of stay connected to my audience, but it really did not have any impact whatsoever on my personal brand, on the business, or just my ability to kind of grow my network. So what we've been able to accomplish executing the strategy we're going to share with you, we were able to do so in 1 quarter, about 3 months, we were able to do this. And so when you think about this, if you're watching right now, if you've got an existing account and you realize, hey, maybe I've plateaued, or you were like me just 3 months ago and you just want to sort of step on the gas. The thing that really surprised me, Chris, is how much you can accomplish in such little amount of time. That was the part to me that was just really, I think, gratifying and exciting about, the future of Instagram.
Yeah. And let me just be really clear, Jimmy. We look at Instagram accounts of real estate agents almost every single day. There's a huge opportunity here. Instagram, if you're, helping people buy and sell homes, if that's your demographic, beyond Facebook, Instagram is where people hang out the most and hang out every single day. It's just true. It's not new, but it might be new to you. And so we're going to give you exactly what to do to sort of see that growth. But like we had an employee, Naomi, she's like, they better run Instagram ads or else I won't see them. And so there's a significant chunk of people who don't log into Facebook, who don't go onto Twitter, but they go onto Instagram. What I heard is Google, Facebook is Google and Instagram is Google Images. Like it's sort of that big in the modern era. So, and by the way, the agents that are doing it well, their accounts do grow. People like real estate, people like houses, people like, the stuff you guys do, which is important, whether, kids, puppies, food, and homes are all huge.
I've always been a fan of any channel that you can get really close to the customer. And so the ability for you to interact and socialize and engage in such a frictionless way is sort of what I think all of us who have been part of the sort of social media era have all dreamed of as sort of the sort of holy land, or the outcome that we're trying to achieve is like we want to post things and engage with our audience, and we don't want to have all these barriers and frictions and forms and things to fill out to do so. So Instagram, the ability to go from consumption to engagement is really unlike any other platform out there, Chris.
Yeah, let's get a feel for the audience. You guys watching live on Zoom, drop in the chat how many followers you have right now. And this will be a good note to self. And then you can watch the growth over the next few months by executing what we're about to teach. And I'll read some of these off. Paige 145, Jeff Rising 797, Scott Hardest 938. I want you guys also, hey, Amy Youngren 6,600, solid. But Claire has 400, Tez has 800, Kate has 400, Fred has 3. Fred, you're on the right call, brother. We can get you to 6. No, 9. If we triple Fred, he'll have 9. But what I want you guys to think about is think about that number compared to potentially your Facebook friends.
Yeah.
It typically is a fraction of that. Think about that number compared to maybe your email list.
Mm-hmm.
Your email list is probably bigger than your Instagram. So Jen
Mm-hmm.
has 295, David's got 3,000. But here's the key. The key is, where is your baseline at today and how can you increase it?
Yeah.
Amy should have a goal of getting to 18,000 followers,
Yeah.
right? But Jen Clements, a more reasonable goal would be just to get to 900.
Mm-hmm.
No one that ever got to 9,000 didn't get to 900. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
ladder. But the other thing I'll say, and then we'll get into the tips here, Jamie, there's basically 7 steps to what you did. I don't know if you know that, but there are 7 steps to what you did. I lost my train of thought. Let's get into number 1. Let's share the screen. By the way, Jimmy's going to actually do a demo of his Instagram on his iPhone. Can you show that really quick just to make sure it's working?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we wanted to give you sort of a behind the scenes look here, because I think one of the things that you can do with one of the things you can do here, I'll pull it up, unlock my screen here for you guys, is one of the things you can do is you can only really access analytics on mobile. So we wanted to take this opportunity to sort of show you behind the scenes, how we look at our analytics. So that's going to be a little bit later in today's presentation. We're going to dive into, the analytics and the metrics that we pay really close attention to. Because, the thing that's really interesting, Chris, we talk about this, it's not just about how you post, it's how you adjust your strategy.
Yeah.
And so right now, I think too often people are just posting. They're never doing a sort of retroactive looking back at what's working. We'll give you guys a behind the scenes look at sort of how we think about performance on Instagram and how these small changes have really driven a significant impact on our performance.
Yeah. So the first piece of this is actually developing a strategy and a posting schedule. For most people, they're not posting enough and they're not thinking through sort of what they're posting and why. Jimmy, talk a little bit about purpose. Like you actually had a clear, defined purpose going into this experiment. Tell people what it was, and maybe what are some ideas that come to mind. If you were an agent, what would you focus on?
Well, this is a business lesson that also is applicable to Instagram. So you will not find a single company that you love, a brand that you admire, that doesn't have a clearly defined mission and vision. And so when you look at something like Microsoft, a $1 trillion company, they had this mission in the late 90s and early 2000s where they said, we want to put a computer on every desk. And it was sort of a rallying cry, and it helped them operationalize their business in a way where they focus all of their energy on manufacturing and distribution and reach. And so great organizations, both personal brands and businesses, have a vision, they have a mission, they have some larger purpose they're trying to fulfill. And so for me, when I thought about Instagram, I just didn't want to be like everybody else on Instagram. I wanted to have my own personal mission. And so my mission was to become the most useful person to follow on Instagram. And so everything that we do, Chris, we look at through that lens, which is we say, is this information useful to the audience that I'm targeting? Now, this is an important point that I want everybody to sort of slow down for a moment to internalize. I know who my audience is. My audience is not the end consumer. It is not fellow business owners like myself. It isn't my staff. It is top producing real estate agents who want to grow their business. So I have a clearly defined audience. I have a clearly defined mission. And so those two factors, those two kind of components, Chris, create the calendar for me. And it gives me the lens to look at everything that Annette and I do to post on social. So my first pro tip is, if you do not have a clearly defined mission for what you're trying to achieve and who you are trying to reach, stop. Hard stop, Chris. Write that down. Get clarity on that. And so I'm actually really curious in the chat right now, for those of you who are tuning in right now live, or if you watch the replay, share with us, what is your mission? What is the goal you're trying to achieve? Mine is to become the most useful person to follow in real estate, not the most popular, not the most charismatic, not the funniest, the most. I want everyone who comes to my feed, to my profile, to like, wow, this stuff is just super useful for me. And I'm really curious, Chris, to see what people say as it relates to their mission.
Yeah. And for you, it's useful for real estate agents. If it's useful for consumers, that would dictate a totally different content strategy. Right. And I love where
Exactly.
people's heads go. Like for Teresa, she wants to have a focus of recruiting and retention. For Kathy, most helpful person to a home buyer, which, not buyers and sellers, to a buyer. Right.
Yep.
Um, Jeff, great content, help other businesses make more money. Right. Like
Yep.
he's not going down the house route. Bettina, I like what she's doing. She's like, my purpose is to show off the listings that are over $500,000.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah, it's like, who's your audience? For
Mm-hmm.
us, it's agents and teams. What's your purpose? For
Yep.
us, it's to be useful. And then that
Mm-hmm.
dictates content. So as an example, all the content that you put out is actionable advice
Yeah.
or data you can use
Yep.
or a template you can download, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're basically just fulfilling the first two buckets very easily. Knowing those two, the content becomes very easy, right?
Well, one thing to add there, Chris, for those of you who just dropped in your mission, what your goal is, now here comes the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and look at your feed and ask yourself the question, like,
Mm-hmm.
let me grade myself. If my mission is to highlight or to attract and recruit the best agents in my market,
Mm-hmm.
look at your last 5, last 10 posts, your last stories, your last reels. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you actually fulfilling upon that mission? Are
Mm-hmm.
you positioning yourself in that way? Because if call it that's your mission, Chris, but then 2 of your 10 posts fulfill that and the other 8 are just random things about your life,
Yeah.
then you're creating confusion.
Mm-hmm.
You're not creating
But
this sort of clear message.
yes, but at the same time, if your purpose is to share the good, bad, and ugly of your life, like that's a purpose too, right?
It
I mean,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, that is a purpose, but
Mhm.
like, and that's if you want to say, like, I want to be the most authentic realtor in
Mhm.
my market, and
Mhm.
that does come along with the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, the most transparent, the most honest, or it could
Yeah.
be the one that people think of as a neighborhood expert, neighborhood XYZ, or the people that think about as a market expert and a data, like analyzing data. Like everybody's going to have to find their own. You went from sort of not posting or never posting or randomly posting to have a good frequency. Talk about frequency, what you're doing, and then is that a good decision for the people watching? Like obviously to grow your following, you have to be consistent, you have to put out
Sure.
quality content. How
Yep.
often are you posting, Jimmy, to triple the following?
So two things here. Number one, before you start to regularly post, you have to do one thing, and this is super important. You have to get your inputs right. This is something Chris and I worked together on, and we put together a list of our favorite blogs, our favorite Twitter profiles or personalities, our favorite podcasts. We organize that into a doc called inputs, and what you have to do is think of yourself as sort of a media company where the sources of information dictate the output. So if you don't have your inputs dialed in, then you're forced to manufacture creativity on the spot. And guess what? You're busy. You got 25 things going on every single day. You got fires to put out. We're in this sort of frantic seller's market. You're never going to have that sort of moment where you like kind of capture creativity in a bottle and you can kind of just pull out whenever you want to use it. So you've got to be able to manufacture creativity, and you do that through an input stock. So make a list of the best sources of information that can feed into your mission, and then that can dictate how frequently you're posting. Now we try to post between 3 and 5 times a week. We started off 7 days a week. We came out firing at all cylinders. We kind of began to pull that back to 5 days a week. Now we're sort of just focusing on, because we got a good audience now, we're building some momentum and we're growing pretty significantly. We're trying to aiming for 3 posts per week. That includes stories, reels, carousels, right? The thing that we will never compromise on is quality. So if we have a choice, Chris, between frequency, posting 5 days a week, doing good work, or 3 days a week and doing exceptional work that we're really proud of, we will always choose quality. And this is something I want to give everyone here permission to do, Chris, is I'm going to give you permission to do less, which is you don't have to be doing 5 stories a day and 10 posts a week. If you can produce at a high level, great, more power to you. but the world's a busy place, Chris.
Mhm.
Choose quality. That is a long-term evergreen strategy that will work for your business.
All right, do one more thing for me, Jimmy. Pull up your feed again. I want to show something that we would be crazy not to mention Annette, who works with us. She works for us, and
Yep.
she does a lot of this. She helps us. I'm going to talk about outsourcing versus insourcing. But if you
Sure.
scroll through your feed, one of the things that Annette is doing with the cadence is it looks like uniformed, right? It's almost like
Yep.
tic-tac-toe. And for us, like the cadence that we wanted to hit was video visual, right? So
Mm-hmm.
every other post is a video, every other post is visual, and you can see how that plays out in the real world. So what ends up happening is if somebody kind of ends up on Jimmy's profile, they scroll through his feed, it looks professional, it looks organized, and
Yep.
that's going to help you increase followers as well. The last tip on just the strategy and posting schedule, we're going to talk about reels here in a minute, and reels are exploding. Like
Yep.
breaking news, you can get 10x more views on a
Mm-hmm.
reel than a regular video. Like they want you to do reels right now, and reels is 30 seconds. And so what the other thing I would recommend people doing that want to be able to like execute daily or 7 days a week, etc., you can batch your work. Like what I do is all month I'm saving ideas every week, every day. If I see a good idea, I have an app called AnyDo. I put it in there,
Yep.
and then I sleep on it. I do like the Jack Daniels test: take a shot of whiskey, wait a little bit, see if I still think it's a good idea,
Yeah.
right? Versus just like idea post, which I think a lot of people do.
Yep.
And then I go in the lab and I say, okay, today I'm going to film,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to block off, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. But I've got my shot list. And then because a lot of the stuff that I'm recording is short and optimized for a reel, 30 seconds, I can create 8, 10, 12 pieces of content in
Yep.
one afternoon. And
Mm-hmm.
and for a lot of people that are busy and have a lot of hats to wear, like just put it on your calendar. These 2 hours we're recording videos for Instagram for the month. That
Yeah.
helps a lot.
For
As far
sure.
as go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just gonna say, I think that's knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer to batch your work, or do you prefer to sort of make it as part of your daily routine? I think
Yeah.
in each individual case, it just depends on your situation. But ultimately, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. And if you're, after a long day, if you're trying to figure out a way to squeeze it in, it's just not going to happen. Which is why most of us are super inconsistent with our social. It's why I was for 5+ years. So you're absolutely right. I love the idea. Batch your work. It's a smart tactic, Chris.
Yeah. So getting into growing your following, we take a step forward. Like, how do I get more followers? We got about 4 or 5 tips here for you guys on how to grow your following. By the way, hello, Frederick. We save these videos, Christina, on YouTube or on Curaytor.com. Curaytor.com. You can watch the replays and all of our other stuff too. But to grow your following, the short answer is consistency and quality. Like if you post a lot frequently
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
good, your account
Mm-hmm.
will grow. If you
Yeah.
don't, it won't. But there's other sort of proven ways. So what I wanted to have you kind of talk a little bit about, Jimmy, is 2 things that you have done specifically that have led to call it, a surge in followers
Yeah.
versus and a trickle. We call it the trickle and the pop. But talk a little bit about like the organic content that is doing well that you boost, and how does
Mm-hmm.
that lead to followers? And then you've got a good email signature hack that every single person can use.
Yeah, well, let's start with what do you advertise? This is a really important question, and let me pull my screen up so you can see this here.
Mhm.
So, from an advertising perspective, one of the things that I do, and I'll pull up my most recent post. So, I just did this carousel where I did a five people to follow on YouTube: Brad McCullum, Shadia Hill, who's amazing. Ken Pozak he's the Walt Disney of real estate down there in Orlando, your hometown, Chris.
Mhm.
Malcolm Lawson, and then Christina Smallhorn. And so what I look for is I use this very simple tactic where I say, I'm going to run or I'm going to post something and I'm going to wait an hour to see how well it does.
Mhm.
And I let the organic reaction or the organic engagement dictate the advertising strategy. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just giving you guys a really behind the scenes look here. I'm going to click on view insights. And when I look at this post, what I'm looking for is not the likes. Everyone, Chris, obsesses over the likes, maybe even the comments. I'm not looking at that. What I'm looking at is the shares and the saves, because I know if someone shares or saves my post, I know that post is actually really valuable and useful. And as you can see here, this was sent and shared 28 times and it was saved 52 times. This is just in the last 90 minutes of posting this. So when I see that, I say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and promote that post. And what I do is I put anywhere between a $50 or $100 budget behind that promotion, and I drive them to my profile. Because when you look at my profile, sorry guys, I'm in a city here. When you look at my profile, what you see here is I have all this evergreen content that hopefully will compel someone to want to follow me. And so what I do, Chris, is I first start by doing an organic post. I don't advertise every post. If it does really well, if people like it, if they comment, and more importantly, if they share and save, I will then put an advertising budget behind it. Let me go one step further here, Chris. The advertising strategy I use is I advertise, I boost it, and I do a profile visit. I'm not trying to get messages. I'm not trying to drive them off Instagram. I'm trying to get followers. That's the tactic.
Yeah. And the idea would be if somebody's saving it or sharing it, the value's super high. If they find super high value, the idea that they would click through and follow you and enjoy the other super high quality stuff is better. The reality is if something's sort of like blowing up with likes, but it's actually not blowing up with like shares or saves, in theory, if you were to advertise that, probably just get more likes, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say typically the best practice, at least for most people, would be look at where the post is after 24 hours. You know, if after 24 hours it overperformed, you at least need to ask yourself if that might be worth running an ad on that. And like Jimmy said, driving them to your profile for the follow, not the website. You could be patient, build the following, get them engaged every day. All the numbers go up. The other thing you do that I love is, you know, we send out a lot of emails. If you're in marketing, you send a lot of emails to your list. And so every email that you're sending, you've actually got a signature that links over to your Instagram as well. And that sort of has passively picked up hundreds and hundreds of followers. If somebody were to ask, like, what is a good cost per follower? Like if somebody did want to grow their following through some kind of smart paid ads like we're talking about, what do you sort of like value per follower? Like, is it dollars or is it cents?
Yeah, it would be like, well, let me be clear. If it depends on the hook you're using to capture the follower. If you're using something like a contest or a giveaway where the motivation is something that is, call it, you know, just someone signing up and subscribing to follow you, then you should pay as little as humanly possible, right? And there are reasons why you might want to do that. But if they're following you because they love your content, then I'm willing to pay $1, $1.50, $2 for a follower. And in fact, if you can go into your professional dashboard, most people don't know this, Chris. You can go into your professional dashboard and you can actually sort. And I'll just show you how this works. You can sort your posts. And what you can do is you have the option at the very top of the page. Let me just walk through that one more time.
Yeah. How'd you go into the dashboard?
Yeah. Let me just show you how this works here. So you should be able to see it, right? At the very top of the page, you see view professional dashboard. I click on that and then that loads up. I then click on this chart and that will bring me to my insights.
Okay.
Then I click on under the content you shared. I click on that. And then I can now sort and filter by my best performing promotions. Now, here's the key. I can change the second field called reach. I can change that to follows. And what you'll see here in a moment is you'll see the content that I have promoted that has generated the most amount of follows. And you can see 4 of the top 5 are contents that are swipe and steal templates and our giveaways, right? our carousels. So this one, 7 stats every real estate agent should know, has generated 597 new follows. If I click on that, Chris, and I view the insights behind it, you'll get a little bit of behind the scenes look at how much I'm willing to pay for a follow. So this promotion has 234 shares, 1,100 bookmarks, right, or saves. And you could see I spent $132 on this one. And you can see I got 1,600 profile visits. So if you do the math there, Chris, I'm getting probably 1,600 profile visits with 600 follows. I'm getting about a 40%, right? 35, 40% conversion ratio from visiting my profile to following.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you put in the metric that matters to you, if the goals follows, like if I were advising you on this, it's very simple. Advertise swipe and steal templates, advertise sliders. You're not getting as many follows when it's like a quote or some form of motivation. So I think everybody should check that. Katrina said she doesn't have the professional dashboard. Your account may not be like toggled over to a business account. So to get sort of all these advanced analytics and to be able to run an ad, we should give the disclaimer. You do have to kind of choose business account, not a regular account. Jimmy, let's talk about likes for a second. Flip that over to the most likes since you're already on that screen.
Yeah, bear with me here 1 second. And before we forget, we will cover the email strategy with you in 1 second because that's a really smart tactic. It's worked well for us. So let's go ahead and do this. There we go. Okay. So I'll switch that over to likes, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
And see how it kind of the tables turned.
Yeah.
Right. So now 4 out of the top 5 are more of a quote, inspiration, motivation, more of like a coaching than a training.
Yeah, right? It's such an interesting point, Chris, because what you see is, and listen, there's value in likes, there's value in engagement in that sense, but it is if you're going for the like, you have to make it such a bite-sized piece of content that people say, oh, I like that, right? So like this one here, the agents who obsess over improving the quality of their service at every stage will become irreplaceable. Someone reads that and likes it. If you're sharing something that's called a carousel, because we're sort of scrolling through our feed, like, oh, that caught my attention, I may not be in a position to like read all of this and digest it. So I'm going to save it for later. And so like if you're going for likes, I think you kind of have to give them everything you want to give them in a short, digestible fashion. If you're going for the save or the share, you should think about, a longer form piece of content that you want people to kind of come back to reference later on. But it's a great point. 4 of the 5 are just sort of tweets that we're repurposing on Instagram.
Yeah. And before I forget, this is what I was going to say earlier. Organic actually exists on Instagram. It barely exists on your Facebook page. So like, I think I have 45,000 fans on Facebook. I might get a like or two on something that I post there. That same thing on Instagram with only 15,000 followers gets hundreds of likes, hundreds of saves. So that's another thing for people. Like we're talking a little bit about ads here and you should use them smartly, but at least organic is an option. At least you can get tons of engagement. The other pro tip I wanted to give here, Jimmy, is based on the interaction type, you can target ads at people that do kind of X activity. So Jimmy said 1,600 people viewed his profile in 30 days.
Yeah.
They actually have an ad unit where you can target the people who viewed your profile. You can target the people that saved your stuff. You can target the people that liked your stuff, right? Things of that nature. So not only are you getting sort of the upfront engagement and traction, you're also building an audience. So we can go back and say, hey, we've got a new thing you guys might want to save. And you can show it to all the people that love to save stuff. And it ends up being a home run.
Yeah. And you bring up a point, and I know we want to cover the email strategy before we move on here, Chris, but you bring up a good point, which is I'm not going for the quantity. I'm going for the depth. I'm trying to have a deeper connection with every person in my network. And yes, I want to grow my following. I want to reach more people, but I'd rather be like deeply connected to 10,000 people or than just superficially, being followed by 100,000. So if you look at my profile and you look at the analytics, you see that like pound for pound, I get more engagement, more follow, more likes, more comments, more shares, more saves than accounts that are literally 10 times bigger than mine. So
Yeah.
like this is about going for the depth, Chris.
Yep. And Cam was asking, are you doing these ads that you do promote through the app on Instagram, or are you doing them, through Ads Manager on Facebook? The quick
Yeah.
answer is Instagram. It's so much easier and quicker and simpler to deploy an ad through there than Ads Manager, that I would say 95% of the audience should just do it there, and
Well,
not do
yeah, let's make we'll share this a little bit later when we talk about advertising, but we do have a really smart strategy that you reminded me of that wasn't covered in the show notes around repurposing your best Instagram ads or best Instagram content through a Facebook ad. So I'll make a note of that. We'll make sure we cover that in the bonus section when we talk about advertising. So Chris, real quick, before we move on, I want to show the email strategy. We use in our platform, one of my favorite views that we use is our calendar view. You could see how many emails we send to Curaytor. The short answer is a lot. And one of the things that we coach our clients on is you should be sending a heck of a lot more emails than you do today. But one of the emails that every time that we send an email, you'll notice at the signature here, I actually include a link to my Instagram profile. So I don't link to the website on my signature. I email to my Instagram profile. So under the performance section for our emails, I can actually see how many clicks am I getting on this. So when I hover over this within the Curaytor marketing platform, I could see this one email, I got 27 clicks, 19 unique clicks on that link. So it's not my main goal to get more followers via email, but if I'm sending 10, 12, 15 emails per month to our audience of 90,000 people who subscribe to our blog, well, every email I'm getting 15, 20 people clicking through who are on my email list, beginning to visit my Instagram profile. So now all of a sudden, talk about that depth of connection. I'm able to, incrementally increase my Instagram following from the people who already kind of know, like, and trust us. And so this is something that nobody is doing, Chris, when it comes to cross promoting their email to their Instagram following. It's been super effective for us.
Yeah. Basically what you're saying is, everybody understands they should try to use social to grow their email list. What they're probably not doing is using their email list to grow their social.
Totally.
What we're also talking about here is likes. Scroll up in that email, Jimmy, because this is another pro tip. Like, once you start executing through Instagram regularly, you're actually giving yourself unique links that can almost become a newsletter. Talk about this in case you missed it angle. And this would be driving people to the post you've already done to try to get more likes and more traction on good stuff.
When you create evergreen, high quality content on Instagram, you can repurpose that content in future marketing campaigns. So what we do is, this is a campaign that we send every 30 days. So imagine for a moment, this is a strategy you can use 12 times a year. Our best IG content from the last 30 days. You can see that 6,000 people opened up this email. We generated 1,243 clicks. And all we do, it takes 10 minutes to write this email. All we do is grab our most popular content on Instagram over the last 30 days, which is why if you're posting super consistently, you'll have a ton of content to reference. We grab our most popular ones and we just link over to it. And then we say, hey, follow us. And so every 30 days, we do this as a way to promote our content on Instagram, drives them directly to the post. They like, they comment, right? They engage with it. So this is how we not only increase our following, but get more likes and engagement, comments and shares and saves on the content we've already produced.
Yeah. And I want to ask Sarah from our team who's on the call to do me a favor. Drop a link to Jimmy's Instagram. Drop a link to my Instagram. We would be crazy not to do the tactic as we talk about the tactic. If you're not following us yet, fix that right now. Click through, follow Jimmy, follow myself. And if you really like the content we put out, there's 3 dots at the top right. You can actually turn notifications on for individual accounts. So it doesn't have to be this all or nothing approach. But I'd love you guys to click over there. And Jimmy, do me a favor, pull my account up really quick. I want to show one last pro tip on likes.
Sure.
pull, if on your phone, I guess you can pull up my account. I want you to scroll down a little bit and I'll kind of tell you where to stop. But what you're looking for is a tweet with a heart on it. It's kind of combining strategies here, but this is something I think a lot of people would never try. This is actually a direct call to action in the graphic to heart if you agree. That was not the most compelling thing I've ever written. Hey, I think conferences are going to come back in a massive way. You know, that's not a rocket science post, but I said heart if you agree. Now remember, I already tweeted this and I did it's the exact same thing and a bunch of people hearted it. So I'm like, cool, people are willing to play along. And then I did it here and it got like 300 likes, which was a little above average at the time for sure. And whether it's in the caption, I mean, think about this. If you love living in Toronto, double tap this post. Believe me, triple, quadruple some of the stuff that you get. So you can either like put it in the caption or you can even better yet, design it into the creative. Jimmy, let's fast forward to Reels. Okay.
Sure.
I want to talk about Reels for a minute. I mentioned this earlier, and it's just true. If you look at the Reels and the number of views versus a regular video and a number of views, it's not even close. Instagram is begging people to do Reels. They're literally want people to do Reels because they're trying to compete with TikTok. It's a popular feature on TikTok. They want it to be a popular feature here. In fact, Jimmy, we got to know Facebook Reels are going to be a thing, you know, if they're not already very soon. So talk a little bit about this, because for me, I had a tough transition into doing Reels. I like talk a lot. And so 30 seconds was like, what am I going to do in 30 seconds? Like, you can't bring value in 30 seconds. Like I need an hour on stage, right? Like to really teach people stuff. But what I'm starting to find is that micro content is the most popular content. And so day to day, week to week, we're not like logging in every other post to go watch a 30-minute video or even a 3-minute video, but 30 seconds is not going to waste much of my time. Talk about Reels, because this is a big part of your growth.
Yeah, you know, Instagram and any social media site has a tendency to over index for their most recent release. So obviously we've seen the rise of short form video. If you look at Mary Meek, who puts out a bunch of content about the trends, Mary Meek, I believe her name is, someone fact check me there, puts out internet trends. She said something recently where 82% of all video or all internet traffic in 2022 is going to be video. And 28% of that is going to be short form. So short form is a category, Chris. It's no longer sort of an add-on or nice to have. It is accounting for the vast majority of sort of consumption online. So whether it's TikTok, whether it's Reels, whether it's now most recently YouTube Shorts, short form is a medium that you have to make sure that you have the right message for. And so what I've learned about Reels is a few things, you know, and let me be clear. Everything I know about Instagram that I'm regurgitating to you today and I'm teaching you today, I learned from Annette, who we have to continue to give her shout outs because she's, you know, been someone who's really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And she's been the one who's been really pioneering this strategy. But what Annette taught me about Reels, she says, you know, you have to make sure that you are giving people information that they immediately capture their attention and that gets them excited. And you do not have time to go deep. So like, whatever topic you're going to talk about, like just tell them what they need to know, surprise them, entertain them, make it interesting. So what we try to do with Reels and what's been really effective for us is the thing that's worked for me personally. And for yours is a little bit different because, you know, you are doing well on Reels and you're going viral on TikTok, which I hope we have a chance to show a little bit later on. The thing I do is I do situational Reels. And so what I mean by that is I think about what is the day in the life of a realtor, Chris? What are the things that they have to do every day, and how can I kind of insert some, you know, inspiration into their day, something that's kind of a mundane activity. So one of the examples I gave here is I have a past client script for when you sell a property. So the next time that you list a property or the next time that you sell a property, these are everyday events that happen in the life of a realtor, use this script. And so those types of situational Reels just do really well for us. And it's been really wonderful to see how people have interacted with it and engaged with us and gave us great feedback on it. But Instagram is prioritizing Reels. It's got to be a part of your strategy. And we've seen some, pretty remarkable results just in the last, 3 months here from it.
Yeah, and we should also mention there's TikTok with short form video, Reels with short form video, YouTube Shorts is starting to roll out with short term video. You're right, it's a category. One other pro tip is like you really should use hashtags at the end of your Reels because they're over indexing, so they need to know where to put it. So they're not just relying on their algorithm of the people that have engaged with you. The Reels end up in front of people that don't follow you yet, which is great. It's like kind of the mecca, right? So I do use hashtags. Some people use the trending music. I personally don't. But another way to get it out there in front of people is hashtags, trending music. And you've mentioned Annette a couple of times. I thought about this before the call. Like, what if you don't have an Annette? Most people don't. Like, she's amazing at video editing.
Yeah.
She like nails it with the captions and all the work that she does. There are some apps I kind of did some homework on, and I think you guys should try. So number one is called InShot, INSHOT, InShot app. The other app is called Splice, SPLICE. Think of it as, simple and easy way to edit awesome reels and videos just using your phone or using very simple controls, iPhone or Android. Jimmy's showing InShot. Splice is a similar app, simple to use, easy to make great edits, even if you're not an editor. And somebody was asking about like frames, kind of like, what is your thumbnail? These apps all have like thumbnails. Canva is another one we should mention. Like Canva has a lot of thumbnails and some cool editing features as well. The other thing would be if you want to outsource it, like you want a person to do it, you don't even want to use the app. You know yourself too well. Because a lot of times, Jimmy, we shoot a video and the video is really like 40 or 50 seconds. Yeah. And then part of the magic Annette is doing is she's extracting the dead space, or we're not perfect with our delivery, like a kind of imperfect or dead space, and getting it back down to 30 seconds. So obviously a human is better than an app. If you want to hire a person, a freelancer to edit videos for you for IG Reels, Upwork is a great place to look. Like go to Upwork and even Fiverr. Like not everything on Fiverr is $5. I think they get a bad rap for that. There's talented people on Upwork and Fiverr that will edit your reels. And do me a favor, Jimmy, pull up the Rossman team on Instagram, because I think a lot of times people watch this and it's like, oh, I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. These guys are just kind of different. Jordan is creating, if you click on his Reels tab, he is creating, a ton of awesome and engaging Reels. And when you look at some of the views, thousands of views, if you go to the like second or third one there, and I've seen Jay Marks doing this too. If you guys pull up Jay Marks's account, he's doing 30-second property tours. Yeah. So this isn't something that agents are going to do. This is something smart agents are doing. And again, over indexes and no one else is doing it yet. That's always a good time to do something. The last thing I'll say there, Jimmy, you said I went viral on TikTok. I kind of did. I kind of did. 100. Listen, viral is relative, but 130,000 views on TikTok, but I created it for Reels. Like I don't have a good audience on TikTok yet. I have an audience on Instagram. So I'm creating stuff for the people on Insta, but every Reel is already kind of built for TikTok. So if you look at that, the bottom right one there, 130,000 views, that was the same thing that I posted as a Reel. And I didn't get 130,000 views on any of my Reels. So I was thinking a lot about this. Like we're trying to kind of push people to using IG more. Most likely they're not on TikTok. They're not using it a lot. And TikTok is leveling up. The age of the people using it is going up. It's not going away. And here's the beauty, just like Instagram, you get organic stuff. I have 2,200 followers and my video got 130,000 views.
Yeah.
that's gold that's even
Yeah.
possible. So that would be the last tip for Reels is like, put them on TikTok. Why not?
Yeah, and let's go deep on this for a second because such an important point. You're looking right now YouTube. These are, you can see these are reels that we are repurposing as shorts on YouTube. These are getting, again, a couple hundred views. They're not doing incredibly well, but if I can get 500 additional views for a video I already produced by taking 5 minutes to upload it into YouTube, I will do that all day long. So what we're
Yeah.
really saying is you can promote your reels through your story, through your post, and obviously through the Instagram app. You can then take your reel, you could repurpose that on TikTok, and you can repurpose that on a YouTube short. But the one thing I wanted to mention, Chris, the other thing that we do with reels is we turn them into ads on Facebook. And this is something we talked about earlier with Pam that I think is worth just sharing. If you go to our Facebook, probably can show this with a Facebook ad library here, Chris. But if this is probably one of the most important things that you can take away from today's call as it relates to developing an advertising strategy that works in 2021. If content performs well on social to your organic following, it will probably make a great ad. And so if you're spending $3, $5, $10,000 a month on advertising, instead of developing an entirely different strategy for advertising, just repurpose your best content from social into ads, Chris. Like, this is something no one's doing that has a profound impact on our strategy and drives our costs down and drives up our results.
Yeah. Our assembly line is interesting. It's like Twitter. We test it. It does good there. It goes to Insta. It does good there. Then we might throw it on Facebook to actually get the traffic. A couple things from the audience. Tez was saying, can you actually upload like the finished product to Reels, or do you have to film the reel live using the app? And the answer is you could do it either way. I think that is a misconception, though. People actually think that like you can only upload a reel if you record it using all of their stuff. You can do it either way. I do a little bit of both. The other thing with Bettina, what if all this turns into sales? How does this help your business? That's an age-old question, Bettina. How does marketing help your business? It gets you awareness, it gets you traction, but we track everything. The time on site from the people that come from Instagram is high. The leads that register through our site on Instagram is very real. The DMs we get for business opportunities, but just think of it this way. Does a seller care about how good you are at marketing? That's the question I would ask myself. And if the answer is yes, then being really good at marketing on one of the most popular social networks in the world that they use every single day might actually be pretty compelling enough for them to want to work with you or even reach out to you in the first place. So I would say there's a couple ways to look at it. Track your Google Analytics. How's your Instagram traffic doing? Track your registrations on your site. How many people are actually registering from there? Obviously, look at your DMs and then just sort of like trust the process, right? If things are going up and people are loving the content, that is building your brand and building your authority. And then the business follows is the way I would explain it. Jimmy, real quick, talk about carousels for like 1 or 2 minutes. We've talked so much about going short form. Carousels are interesting. Does the opposite. Those are the ones everybody saved of yours. Those are the ones that caused everybody to follow you. Carousels are actually the most popular content organically on Instagram. Should agents use them? Why do we use them? Talk about carousels.
Yeah, well, this is a tactic we learned many years ago when we started running Facebook ads for listings. And what we found is Facebook has sort of this quality score, and it gives you an indication. And this is really true for most social media sites. They changed the naming convention of it, but basically they look to see how much engagement something has, and that determines whether or not they're going to continue to serve it, because their goal is to keep. This is important to understanding any algorithm. Their goal is to keep people on the platform. So if content creates engagement and great engagement drives up time on app, they will serve that. They will reward you for that. And so the beauty of a carousel ad is that it's a swipe, a read, a pause, a swipe, a read, a pause, right? You're sort of like, you're liking, you're commenting, you're saving, and you're engaging with these content. So it keeps people in the app longer. And so Instagram, Facebook, they've always rewarded that. Now, notably, I do want to point out one thing we do now that I think is similar to what you talked about earlier. We started evolving and changing this a little bit. But if you look at this 5 copywriting tips, this is probably, I'll actually show this to you on mobile here in a moment. But one of the things that we do, Chris, is we actually add these embellishments, right? And you guys should be able to see my screen here in a second. You saw Chris talk about the heart. If you look at this post, you notice the save this for later. We have a visual kind of hook to encourage a save. And you can see when we do any promotion, like it's a swipe and steal, we have it save for later, a carousel save for later. And that is a really deliberate tactic designed to sort of visually get the consumer to say, oh, let me go ahead and save that. So carousels are a wonderful way to increase engagement. If you can increase engagement, the social media platform like Instagram will reward you for that and show your content to a new audience in hopes of keeping them within the app.
Yeah. Pull one of my carousels up, Jimmy, real quick and go to the last slide. There was a question from the audience. How do you add that label save for later? You basically would do that through Photoshop, through Canva, through whatever sort of photo editing tool on your phone, whatever that you feel the most comfortable with. One other thing Annette did on my carousels that I love, you could do the Google Chrome extension, is if you go to the last carousel, it's sort of like, okay, they're done, right? So if this post helped you, here's how you can help me. Like, comment, share, save. We kind of have all of them in there and kind of trying to guilt them into some interaction. But you can see the icons are lined up perfectly above the actual buttons. And it might take a little bit of trial and error for you guys to line it up that way, but it shouldn't be impossible. So yeah, carousels are a massive part of this. And I think especially with, I've got a listing. Well, maybe it should be 5 or 6 or 7 photos of the listing, not just the curb appeal shot. That's a carousel. Like, people love us. Maybe it's multiple reviews, not a review, right? Like tips for sellers. Maybe it's 6 tips, not a tip, right? Or market data. Maybe it's 3 or 4 trends, not a trend. It definitely allows you to go deeper. I want to talk about the last 2 things here, Jimmy: stories and analytics. Okay.
Sure.
So stories is interesting because stories are extremely popular on basically every social network now, but Instagram's algorithm is really tricky. Okay. What they do with stories, and this is just me testing and trial and error, when you put out a story that people actually engage with the elements on the screen in the story, they look at that. So as an example, a poll. If I put out a poll that causes, call it 40 out of the first 80 people that see it to vote, Instagram's going to say, wow, this has a good vote rate. If 50% of the people that see this story are voting on it, that's off the charts good. Let's show the story to more people. And I can tell you, it can go from 300 for a story view. It can go to 1,300 for a story view. And it's largely dictated by how engaging it happens to be. Now, the other piece of this is, and this is something else that gets you a ton of clicks, spotlighting other accounts. Like every time I mention Jimmy, or like, hey, make sure you guys are following Eric Thomas, or here's a really cool new business to keep an eye on. When you tag someone in a story, it's a clear call to action. People click through. I sometimes get like a 20% click-through rate on a like, hey, if you're not following Jason Cassidy, you should be. Here's his handle. Just put his handle in there. And it gets tons of clicks. So let me give you the dirty little secret. Hopefully people won't be mad that follow me. It's a setup. I'm basically saying, okay, I'm going to front load a very engaging story. And that's going to get that story out there in front of way more people. And then I'm going to backload something that's a little bit more self-serving. So it's like, hey, do you use iPhone or Android? You get all these votes and it gets shown to all these people. And then it's like the next one's like, well, if you actually use iPhone, we just put out the top 20 iPhone apps for agents. Check it out.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
if I would have started with that, if I would have started with like the content, swipe up, do this, it would reach a fraction of the same amount of people. So for stories, like get really good at polls, get really good at like propping out and shouting out people and tagging them. And part of
Mhm.
the reason these things do so well is because people don't see a story unless they really want to.
Yeah.
You know, they put the posts in people's feeds. There's the explore page. They're putting reels in people's feeds. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, every
Mhm.
single person that viewed your story wanted to see it. And they don't have to like it or engage with it, but you still see everybody that sees your stuff. So
Yeah.
back to kind of Bettina's question, what if all your past clients and all the people in your sphere are looking at every story, but it's only 85 people? That's worth
Mhm.
doing, right?
Yeah.
So with a post, they show you who likes it. They don't show you who sees it. With a story, they show you who sees it, who looked at
Mhm.
it. You get the whole
Mhm.
list every single time. Really quick, Jimmy, there's a tool called Motionbox,
Okay.
motionbox.io. It's if you guys really want the good part of it, go to motionbox.io/templates. This is a like what I would call a story builder. If you want to
Mhm.
create beautiful stories, awesome stories, go to /templates, and basically it'll show all the templates they have for carousels, for Instagram posts, Instagram stories, and then you're just sort of editing what's there. You know,
Yeah.
there, you know, insert picture of yourself, insert copy, save, change the
Mhm.
color. That story's done. Motion Box is super cool. The other one is Easel, Easil, Easel. And that's a really great one too. Easel.com. Another kind of simple, easy to use editing tool, basically built specifically for Instagram posts, Instagram TV,
Yeah.
Instagram stories, lots of great content there. The last thing, Jimmy, is once you start posting, you get a lot of data. So
Yeah.
when it comes to analytics, like we looked at some of the follow stuff and like stuff and save stuff. Are there any other sort of data points that you look at that impact your decisions on how you're using Instagram?
Yeah, I'll go back to the profile here for a second. I'll pull up the dashboard.
Mhm.
Um, when I look at first off, when I look at the content,
Mhm.
one of the things I just think is so important when you look at this is like I personally think of all the metrics I care about the most, given the type of content that I'm creating,
Mhm.
is I care about saves. Like
Mhm.
I think this is about. I was talking to my man Brad McCullum yesterday, and we were talking about his YouTube strategy. If you're not following Brad on YouTube, you really should. The guy's doing some extraordinary work. And
Mhm.
I asked him, what is the metrics that you care most about? And he said, Jimmy, the thing that matters most to me is my month over month subscriber growth. So
Mhm.
everything I'm doing, I'm sort of like saying that's the thing I'm going to focus on.
Yep.
So Chris, I don't think there's a magic metric that you should
Mhm.
look at as the lead indicator. Say, oh, if I get this thing right, everything else is good. You have
Yeah.
to choose what's relevant for your profile. For
Mhm.
me, saves is it. Like I look at saves because the content I produce, I want people to save. I want it to be evergreen.
Sure.
If something is being saved,
Mhm.
here's what happens. I then turn around, I send it an email out to our 90,000 person email
Yep.
list.
Yep.
I then turn around and then I run, an ad behind that to promote
Mhm.
it. So if you go to our Facebook ad library, you can see, I'll just pull this up for everyone because we've covered this in previous webinars, but
Mhm.
Facebook has one of the best tools out there where you can basically look at, other people's ads. You can come and look at Curaytor's ads. I'll pull it
Mhm.
up here so you can see this. You can see some of the ads that we're currently running
Yep.
are, swipe and steal templates. Actually, it's probably gonna be under my profile here. I'll jump
Mhm.
back for a second. You'll see I actually repurpose the swipe and steal templates that I have on Instagram.
Mhm.
I put ad budget behind it.
Yep.
And you can see like, so here's what I look for, Chris, to answer
Mhm.
your question directly.
Yep.
I think saves are my North Star metric.
Mhm.
If I get a lot of saves, I then turn around, I send an email, I then turn around and run an ad.
Mhm.
And that is what I focus on. And that
Mhm.
has driven the engagement and the growth of my channel. I think too many people, when they run any campaign, Chris, they kind of fall into the trap of like having a lot of success with one channel and then not squeezing as much juice out of that orange as possible. And that's what we do really well at Curaytor, is we focus on distributing that content across multiple channels. And that's what's worked well for us.
Yeah, if you're enjoying the webinar, let us know in the chat. If you're taking notes, like post them on Instagram and tag us. We'd love to chat with you guys. It makes us feel great to know that you're enjoying the content. One thing a lot of people ask us, Jimmy, is like, can I hire you guys to help me, to consult me, to coach me, to do my marketing for me? Like, you guys obviously obsess about this, and I'm busy, but I'll pay you. Quick question, Jimmy, who should hire Curaytor? People can hire us. We have different options. We figure out what the best option is for the right people, but who is the right client for us? Like, if you're watching right now and listening, who should reach out? Who can we help the most if they decide they want to work with us?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I think about the types of clients, we work with 500 of the top fastest growing teams across the country. Amy Youngren, who you mentioned earlier, she's been a Curaytor client for quite some time, and she's done some amazing work. It's been so fun to see her growth. I can tell you right now, when I look at all the clients that we've worked with, and all the clients that we work with where we've been massively successful, and sometimes, let's be transparent, we're like, it hasn't worked out well. What is the difference between investing in Curaytor and getting a huge ROI and us becoming a major part of your growth, and adding Curaytor because you like the content we're producing and it's not really working for your business? The difference is this. If you're listening to today's call and you are an agent who is either a solo agent who wants to make the transition into building a team, or you're a team and you're looking to grow, where you say, my technology really isn't helping my business. I don't have a good website. I don't love my CRM. None of my stuff works together. If that describes kind of your current setup, you want to grow your business, but your technology really isn't working for you, that's the first question that we want to answer. If we check that box, we should keep talking. Now, here's where it makes a big difference. If you are looking to invest in marketing and advertising, where you're looking to improve and you believe in the importance of your brand, you believe in the importance of advertising and marketing high quality content, not the same automated pre-canned stuff you see everyone else doing, but you want to stand out. If you're in a hyper competitive market, Chris, where you've got to be different in order to win, that's a Curaytor client. And if you think about our clients, whether Scott Hardis, I saw him on the call earlier, Scott Hardis, Jeff Rising, Amy Youngren, Gretchen Coley, Lisa Archer, Jason Cassidy, like these agents come to us and they say, I want to build something bigger than myself, and I want to make investments in my brand so I can continue to scale. That is the quintessential perfect Curaytor client, someone who has taste and someone who demands excellence and believes in quality. We're not, although we do generate leads, Chris, and we do help people with everything you mentioned, Instagram, Facebook, email, content. We're not this like, let's just generate 100 leads per month and you just call them until you convert. We really are about something bigger here, and that's who we want to work with.
But yeah, I think what you just said and what I heard was, we do great marketing for great people. That's really what we do, because as a marketing and advertising company, we can run your Facebook ads, we can run your Google ads, we can help you on Instagram, we can help you with email marketing, but you're still sort of the secret sauce. We're advertising and marketing you. So all of those names that you just rattled off, Jimmy, those are great people. Those are people that deserved to be marketed. Like you said, they knew there was another level they could get to if they got the right help. At the same time, they didn't want to be light beer. They wanted to be craft beer. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I think about Curaytor. In a world of automation and auto posting and everything being very non-human, we're still sort of handcrafting every campaign we create. We're building every banner ad from scratch. We're writing every email, designing every graphic. Like, you're really hiring a marketing agency to help you. And the outcome is, you grow your brand, you grow your business, you get more listings, you join a community of the smartest agents on the planet. And there's not 100,000 of them, right? There's several hundred of them, but it truly is the best of the best. So drop your zip code in the chat. We will follow up with you. We'd love to talk more. Curaytor. Instagram is just a small part of what we do, but it is something that we love to help people with. Whether you reach out to us or not, we do hope that you enjoyed the presentation today. Let us know on Instagram. Hit us up on Instagram, and we'll leave the chat open for 30 more seconds. Get your zip code, get your postal code in. But Jimmy, good stuff. Congrats on the growth. I would almost predict, I don't want to jinx it, but I would almost predict that 3 more months from now or 6 more months from now, we could do the same webinar with the same title. And it would be how you tripled the 6,000 to 18,000. You're a rising Instagram star.
Yes.
We're going to get you blowing up on TikTok as well. But thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. And we'll be back next month with another great webinar. Obviously on Instagram, we post Monday through Friday. So we'll see you guys over there as well. Thanks, Jimmy. Good stuff, everybody.